If you haven't done any of this live streaming thing yourself, you should know that the last textual instruction you receive is to smile for the thumbnail shot. And I seem unable to produce anything but kind of a creepy grin or an annoying smirk, which I suppose says something about me in general. But I decided that instead of, neutral, dignity is more appropriate, which is why you have this kind of frozen, I'm a Roman bust thumbnail appearing. I don't know. Maybe I should get some image or something that makes a better thumbnail. So here I am as of the first really new year. And actually on Friday, Friday Lab, which is good. Oh, the events of the last couple of days, and all of your social media is abuzz, and all of your websites or feeds are aflame, and all of your acquaintances, close ones, random strangers, are full of positions and opinions. So why bother adding to it? Most of what I would say has been said years before by others and by me. And furthermore, probably wouldn't be all that welcome. So, suffice to say, over here, which is not over here anymore, I'm fine. We have been through now our fourth round of Swedish winter holidays. 4 consecutive years of living in a place and celebrating, as we've been doing, leads me to look back on a little bit. I suppose this, therefore, would be more appropriate to have talked about 2 weeks ago while I was in the thick of it. But I'm doing it this way because, frankly, now I'm right up there first in line with people who want this pandemic to be over and for not one more person to die of it. That said, and I wish it were for some other reason, the muted social interactions and obligations of this past holiday have actually done this family really well. We actually needed to be able to do Christmas and New Year's, and here in Sweden, that means lots of related things like Santa Lucia and the funny day that just passed a couple days ago, the Three Kings, right? There's a Three Kings Day. Isn't that cool? Well, anyway, all of this proceeded here with a lot of family harmony and a really nice sense of the kids not wanting to get, but rather to think about who they are now and what they would like. And so the sort of non-generic nature of their gifts and their thoughtfulness and coming up with gifts and the fun of cooking together, making cool stuff, of which there were tons. The approach toward the gingerbread houses, which was less of kind of, ooh, look, candy all over the table, let's stuff it in. Let's pile it onto the house and stuff it in my mouth. And, all that kind of little kid stuff with gingerbread houses has turned into like something really fun. It was fun to make them. It was fun to have them sitting there for a little while, and it was fun to eat them, and just a general, a general niceness to the whole thing. Saw enough family members at, several arms lengths on the porches to exchange things, to maintain kind of a more measured approach to the whole thing. Cooking the hams. I don't think it's just a Swedish thing. I think it's a larger regional thing. But seriously, the Christmas hams are no joke and easy to make, and we sort of rode on a wave of them for a while, as well as many other cooking things the kids chose, the food that they would like. We've always done that, but they kind of in the past have sort of needed prompting or just picked what they were we're used to saying. And now we actually had repasts that were ours, chosen, prepared among us. So anyway, I wish it was for a different reason, but I think we've learned a little bit about how this family needs to celebrate these holidays. Now, what are some other sort of holiday reminiscences that I could provide? One is in thinking about my mother. And my mother, I don't believe I've mentioned such a personage in my Friday Lives, 43 of them, right? I mean, that seems a little motherless. Shouldn't somebody have had a meltdown about their mom unplanned, halfway through a live presentation by this point? Well, the one thing I wanted to talk about has to do with Christmas, and it has to do with the procedure of my mother's life through a variety of cultural contexts, starting with extreme Catholicism and moving through a variety of stages and steps and grapplings. As she would be the first to admit, lapsed Catholic is itself actually a sect thereof. And all sorts of other, I mean, we could go into there's the West Coast Unitarian angle on all of this, and a variety of lifestyle changes, and my childhood and young teens. And what I'd like to focus on is this thing that was a manger. Okay. So if you will imagine a Navy housing lifestyle, this is the one into which I was born, although I didn't stay there long. And the essence there is very much, baby boomer America, not real high income, very monocultural in terms of how one was supposed to live, and very non-monocultural in terms of where everybody in it actually came from. But that means that things like observance of Christmas was done in a certain way and was known to be done in that way. So that's where you have all of the, there's all the trimmings. And one of those things is a manger scene. Now, I don't think we ever had one sitting out there in the, in the lawn or the driveway. I think that's more of a burb thing and not really a Navy housing thing. And so in the case of our manger, there's a little wooden structure, and then there were these, I guess it's China. I mean, I'm using that very generically, painted porcelain, and they were pretty big, right? So we had, I remember Joseph standing almost about 10 inches tall, and everybody sort of, everybody proportionate to that. So you had Mary kneeling there, you had Joseph standing there, you had a little bassinet, you had a little baby Jesus there hanging out in it. And I liked it as a kid because of all the animals, because there's the cow who was, lying there in kind of that curled cow way, and there's a donkey, and there's sheep, a couple of them probably, and a few other. I mean, I was all about the animals, and so there's all these animals, and there's an angel, and there's halos and stuff. So the material, I think, was fairly cheapish porcelain, if truth be known, and they were painted. And oh yes, and the wise men, right? There were the three wise men, and of course, Mary and Joseph and Jesus, of course, are looking fairly generic, Middle Central, North Europe. And then the wise men, of course, are from the East and Southeast thereof. And so they're more ethnically diverse. And so they've got their boxes and stuff. And so that was the manger set that I was born into seeing. And as the years went by, perhaps playing with the animals may have contributed to this, but various pieces were lot, they get packed away and then brought out, and packed away and then brought out. And over the years, you know, um, the various things that went into the box and came out of the box, you know, either got broken or got replaced or shifted out or whatever. And by the time that we were living in Pacific Grove, in a distinctly different rearrangement of family members and a very distinctly different set of family practices. And now it's, more of this Unitarian household, and the manger has changed. For one thing, as I say, I suspect some of the pieces may not have lived through my early childhood, and other things were stuck in. Pretty sure baby Jesus was gone, which, if you think about it, is sort of symbolic and interesting. But the point is that the manger now had different mixed and matched pieces of different kinds, and many of its participants were not mentioned in the source material. And I'm even remembering, didn't we always used to get hay from somewhere? We had stables in the neighborhood, and like spread it out and then put the manger on the hay, is what I remember doing that. But so by the time I was a preteen, the manger was looking really eclectic. And we dialed down the tree thing. By the time I was a preteen, having the tree wasn't all that important anymore. And then there was always like a little tree, and then after that, it became sort of the little shrub that we would stick out there and have fun decorating. But it was, the manger actually had become sort of the more important thing. And as my cousins were born, and were becoming little kids by this point, I being the youngest by a very substantial margin, I'm having pretty soon. Did I say cousins? You see, that's my point. They were closer in age to me, but they're actually my nieces and nephews. As they are born and are kind of coming up, then their participation over at our house, which was part of their Christmas, it wasn't or holidays. It wasn't really their house. They didn't live there, but their participation was probably characterized more by this manger, which is why it became exceptionally odd at that point, because little tiny kids are bringing things that they want to, stick in with the manger. And so by the time I'm a teen, this thing's looking really weird. After I left home, I'm given to understand, I seem to recall for a while in my brief visits, but I'm given to understand through other family members that the manger continued to become almost a strange metropolis of additions and replacements, or who knows what. And I don't know if anybody ever got a picture of its later stages, but kind of wondering where the box may be these days. I doubt if it's being unearthed at this point. Although it would be nice to take a peek in it and say, what is maybe there's a sheep left or something from the original. I don't know. But it would be awfully interesting to take a peek at that sometime. I actually really like these kind of archaeological or accumulated family artifacts. We all like photo albums, I imagine. I love them. And this is a somewhat less curated, somewhat less presentation oriented version of that same concept. And so nobody thinks, of course, to, snap a photo of the manger every year in knowledge that it will become such an artifact through time, which is really too bad. The extent to which you would do that actually sort of obviates its nature as a living document. But should anybody checking this out recall any particular phase or stage or appearance, of that manger during its time, at 1207 Presidio Boulevard. That would be fun to talk about. So there you go. Here we are in the late afternoon, in the dark, and all seeming kind of, with minor traumas. One child with a, painful tooth on its way out, and other children with their various concerns and wondering about the procedures of school coming up, because my older children's schools did in fact close just before the holidays began, and so we're all still struggling with the vagaries of online classrooms. A lot of people have been doing that for a long time, but for us, it's pretty new at this particular age and in this particular region. So, you can point your fingers and laugh at us as I get on here again week after week and go, oh, God, and you're like, done that. Well, all right. That's what I'm anticipating anyway. That's it for this week. Enjoy, please, everything happening insofar as you are able, or at the very least, learn from all that you can see and learn about. Take care, folks.